The last part of Lecture 9 concerns valence diagrams as applied to oxidation states. This is an example with mystery elements of how oxidation states are related to the valence diagrams for atoms. What we have here is a universe with elements X, Y, and Z. Z in its valence orbitals has 2 electrons that are high in energy and far away from the nucleus. For mystery element Y, there are 5 electrons in the valence diagram and 1, 2, 3 vacancies. For mystery element X, there are 6 electrons in the valence diagram and 1, 2 empty spaces. So in this mystery universe, whenever Z meets Y or X, it has electrons that are far away from the nucleus, which means it has low ionization energy. So Z has 2 high energy electrons to lose. So it will become Z2+ upon meeting either of these 2 elements. X is the one with the greatest electronegativity. So it will want to take electrons, just like a nonmetal would, and it has 2 vacancies. So X in this universe will most likely be X2-. Y is going to be in the middle. It will either gain or lose electrons, depending on if it's in a compound with Z or X. So Y has 5 valence electrons to lose. Will it lose those electrons when it meets Z or X? I hope you answer X. Y also has 3 empty orbitals with which to gain electrons and become Y3-. And who can Y take electrons from? I hope you answer Z. If you want to relate these valence diagrams to actual elements, let's go visit the periodic table. Z is probably something like calcium with 2 high-energy valence electrons. Y would be something in group 5, so maybe it would be nitrogen or phosphorus, something with 5 valence electrons. And X has 6 valence electrons, so this would be something like oxygen or sulfur. So when thinking about the positive oxidation state of these mystery elements, focus on how many electrons the elements can lose, which is the total of valence electrons it has. That's why I've assigned Z as possible 2+ and Y as possible 5+. For the negative oxidation state, focus on how many electrons the element can gain. So we're looking for vacancies. That is why Y could possibly be 3- and X could possibly be 2-. So with that explanation, let's try to apply this to some questions. Our first question is, what is the most common oxidation state of S? S would be this element here with 1 valence electron, and you notice that S's valence orbitals are far away from the nucleus. Now let's look at R. What are the most positive and most negative oxidation states of R? So for most positive, take away all the valence electrons. And for most negative, add electrons to all the vacancies you see in the valence band. How about mystery element Q? We'd like to know the most positive and most negative oxidation states of Q. Q has 6 electrons in the valence band. So think about how many electrons can be lost and how many electrons can be placed in the vacancies in that valence band. Now it's time to make a neutral compound between R and S. If I look at R from our previous answers, hopefully you came up with the idea that R could either be +4 or -4 in order to be isoelectronic with a noble gas. S, we only gave the possibility of being +1. Now hopefully it makes sense to you that when S meets R, it is going to give electrons to R. Now you may be thinking, well, R is only going to receive 1 electron. But nobody said we couldn't take more atoms of S than R. So this goes back to a very basic idea of making ionic compounds from a cation and an anion. Now first off, when you typically put together an ionic compound, the cation is usually first. For example, you say sodium chloride when you mean salt. Nobody has ever asked for chloride sodium. That's just not a thing. So if S has to be our positive one, then we should place it first. So S has a +1. Now certainly, I don't think you want to make a compound with R as +4. 2 positives are not going to attract to make an ionic compound. So I want you to think about R being -4. Now all you need to do is remember back to making your ionic compounds and crisscross the charges. So hopefully you have the answer for this one. I gave you a lot of help. Let's see about the next one. How about Q and S? I want you to think about the oxidation states of S and the oxidation state you came up with for Q from the previous question. And then don't forget to crisscross. Here is the challenge question. What neutral compound is formed between Q and R? I trust you decided earlier that R could possibly be +4 or -4, and that Q could possibly be +6 or -2 to be isoelectronic with a noble gas. Now you need to think about which way the electrons will go. Will they go from Q to R, which is uphill, or from R to Q, which is downhill? And don't forget, once you crisscross, you can simplify this ratio.